or how he's coming along with this $1 billion gas to shore project. As for the opposition is when last them to hold a press conference, uncle. You guys better check and see if them fall in a coma. Ta-da!
Kaieteur Radio.
Covering Guyana from coast to coast.
Demerara and Essequibo 99.1 FM.
Berbice 99.5 FM. Kaieteur Radio.
Good day. Thank you so much for tuning in to Kaieteur Radio. I'm Kevin Smith. Welcome to your news at noon. These are the top stories we're tracking. Exxon and government give Guyanese 10 days to understand over 7,400 pages of technical data for Yellowtail project. Exxon eyes Hague's Bosch as dumping ground for its waste. The study says to consider building new industrial landfill. And international lawyer Melinda Janke says a bad deal is a bad deal, regardless who is in power. Get the full details of these stories and more after the break.
This is GHK Lal, inviting you to join me weekdays from Monday to Friday on the National Outlook for commentary on a range of issues, immediately after the 12 noon and 7 p.m. newscasts on Kaieteur Radio at 99.1 FM and 99.5 FM. Looking forward to you sharing in the conversation.
And now for the news in detail. ExxonMobil and the EPA kicked off the first session of the public consultations for the oil company's Yellowtail project. Those discussions were premised on the environmental impact assessment that was done for Yellowtail, the fourth oil field to be developed in the Stabroek Block. It should be noted, however, that these consultations were held over the technical data in the EIA were made public 10 days ago, which is October 16th. The EIA was published in 3 volumes and is 7,400 pages long. Several industry stakeholders have since lamented that Guyanese are left in a disadvantageous position, as it is impractical to expect a proper public probe or scrutiny with such a limited time frame. Some are also of the view that the project should be put on hold so that proper evaluation can be done and the country would have a greater timeline to develop its monitoring capacity. And moving on. Since first oil in December 2019, the cost of living has gone up and the majority of people in Guyana are poor. This is the view held by international lawyer and environmental activist Melinda Janke, who is of the view that oil is making them poorer, not richer. The international lawyer, in a recent public missive, reminded that GAWU had complained that the oil sector is ill-treating Guyanese workers in hiring foreigners for jobs that Guyanese can do. She noted that more than 6 years after the discovery of oil and the promises of vast wealth, people are still hoping for a decent job. In contrast, Darren Woods, the CEO of ExxonMobil, earned $15.6 million US, or roughly 3.2 billion Guyana dollars last year. She used the occasion to remind too that the oil and gas sector is notorious for peddling lies. And moving on, ESSO has submitted a revised waste disposal plan for its operations and has suggested in the interim the use of the Hague's Bosch dump site. This is much documented in a cradle-to-grave waste analysis study submitted by ESSO recently to the EPA. According to the document provided to the EPA, the study covers waste streams generated offshore during exploration, development and production operations, including points of generation, composition and concentrations, transportation, treatment method processes, disposal locations, anticipated disposal frequencies, and application of relevant international standards and best practices. According to the analysis conducted by ESSO, waste volumes will increase as a result of additional FPSO vessels, drill ships, for exploration and appraisal and development wells, liquid mud plants, and marine support vessels, tank cleaning services transitioning from Trinidad to Guyana. Still on Esso, it has secured and deployed another supply vessel, adding to its fleet of 24 already in operation. This much can be gleaned from a notice yesterday by Marid, which has since caused to be published a notice warning mariners to stay clear of the vessel's operation. The new rental, since identified as the Home Run P offshore vessel, is set to be used as Esso continues to develop its operations in the Stabroek Block of the Guyana Maritime Zone. The vessel is said to be operating some 177 kilometers from the coast of Guyana and will cover an area of some 64 nautical miles. Previous reports had indicated that Guyana has in its past paid some $55,000 or approximately 11 million Guyana dollars for the rental of each supply vessel it rents. You're listening to Kaieteur Radio 99.1 and 99.5 FM. This is your news at noon. We will return after the break.
Weak systems of governance and the absence of the rule of law both combine to form the perfect stage for corruption to flourish. As part of our anti-corruption fight at Kaieteur Radio, we invite you to join us every Tuesday evening from 7:30 p.m. as we embark on a most needed quest to remove the tentacles of corruption from our systems. See you then for our latest program called Governance, Corruption and Justice.
Welcome back. Let us continue with the news. A Charlestown sweetie vendor was on Sunday night killed, reportedly over sharing a photograph on social media of the suspect and his girlfriend being intimate. The dead man has been identified as 48-year-old Carl Cameron of Lying Street, Charlestown, Georgetown. Yesterday, police issued a wanted bulletin for the suspect, 30-year-old Kevin Hendricks, also of Lying Street. According to police, it was around 18 hours on Sunday last while Cameron was in front of his yard selling confectionaries when Hendricks, who was armed with an object suspected to be an ice pick, reportedly walked up to him and stabbed him 5 times, thrice in his chest and twice to his back. And moving on, for the first 6 months of 2021, the University of Guyana expended a total of $1.5 billion on maintenance alone. This was revealed in a recently published mid-year report. According to the report, the sum was spent on the maintenance and operations of its 2 campuses, one at Turkine, East Coast Demerara, and the other at Tain, Quarantine Berbice. According to information published on the university's website, maintenance includes repair works, cleaning, weeding of lawns, purchase of materials and stationaries, and other materials needed for the institution's operations. In September 2018, the then coalition government had commissioned a maintenance facility, which it had built for maintenance staff. However, it should be noted that as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, the students and professors have not been physically attending class at the 2 UG campuses as in the past. In other news, the Ministry of Housing and Water, through the CHNPA, has inked approximately $136 million in contracts under the Adequate Housing and Urban Accessibility Program for the construction of core homes in Sophia, Georgetown, and the installation of street lights at La Parfait Harmony on the west bank of Demerara. This is according to a release issued yesterday by the CHNPA. Minister Kroll, in his charge to the contractors, explained that these projects are important, particularly for the enhancement of low-income and vulnerable communities and families, as he urged them to complete the works to the best standards. And now for your COVID-19 update, followed by the page 7 of the Kaieteur News. Since the country recorded its first COVID-19 death in March of last year, most of the persons who died, are men. This is according to the Minister of Health, Dr. Frank Anthony, who on Thursday last announced during his daily COVID-19 update that out of the 887 recorded COVID-19 deaths, 486 of the deaths are men, while 401 are women. According to the minister as well, most of the patients who died were unvaccinated or had comorbidities. Last month, we had reported that between the months of June and August 2021, some 227 persons had died. Out of that figure, a total of 118 persons were men and 109 were women. September 2021 had been declared as the country's deadliest COVID-19 month thus far, with some 169 persons dying from the virus. Let not your destiny and your promise be stolen from you by any small or great thing. Those were the words of UG's Vice Chancellor at the ceremonial opening of the university for the 2021 to 2022 academic year. The young ones had better bear that in mind, better keep an eye on our political leaders so that they do not continue to steal destiny and promise from everyone, if they have their way. And with that, we've come to the end of today's News at Noon. I'm Kevin Smith. Thank you for listening.
Want value for your advertising dollar? Then place your ads on Kaieteur Radio's newscasts. Streamed live on 6 different mediums, reaching hundreds of thousands. Advertise today and watch your dollar grow. Call us on 225-8465 or 226-8210 today.
Fellow Guyanese, after the newscast at 12 noon every day, I am dedicating some clips with extremely important information pertaining to Guyana's future. Please, I beg you, take some time and listen to them. It is for your interest and future generations. This is a message from Glenn Lal saying thanks for listening to the Kaieteur Radio 99.1 and 99.5 FM.
All right.
And like that gentleman just said in that video in Zambia, where the government took their copper mine and sold it for $25 million. In 3 months, the company made $75 million and pay off the Zambian government and owns the copper mine. You know, his last words was, we have to have an understanding. We have to make decisions that is sound. And when you don't have an understanding of how business works, how business operates, then we are heading in a sad state of affairs.
Yep.
Like I said today, I went to court. I sat there, well, not in court, I did it via Zoom. And today, for the first time, I am learned that one of the gentlemen who run this country, who run some of the largest corporations and state agencies in this country, does not have an MBA. Is not an accountant. I was so shocked. I was so shocked. Josh, I'm not going to tell you is who. I'm going to begin this program by saying namaste again to all of you in here.
All right.
And you will have to listen. Who is this individual that responsible for the nation's big money for donkey years and does not have an MBA? I'll tell you later down in the program.
All right.
But don't forget, you have to live within your
Means
for quite a while into the future. That's a phrase used by our vice president recently to finally tell this nation, don't expect any oil money anytime soon. Yes, that is what he means. Those words came from his mouth last week at the ExxonMobil sponsored conference they had in Texas. In the meanwhile, Josh, hear this piece of video quickly before you go to sleep. Friday, you fell off the chair. You were nodding and you slept. Could you play that video quickly?
No problem.
Forefront of global energy markets recently with its oil field discoveries. Analysts predict that within a span of just a few years, Guyana will become the world's largest producer of oil per capita. At the same time as this evening's talk really makes manifest, Guyana is committed to developing a sustainable future for all of us. We are excited to host you this evening at the Baker Institute, which is ranked